Good morning. Welcome to Beverly Unitarian Church. I'm Reverend David Schwartz, minister here, and it is a pleasure to join you virtually in worship today. We welcome all people here, every color of the rainbow, from every place on earth, whatever your past or your present is like. We invite you to walk into the future with us. Here we celebrate a diversity of beliefs, striving always to make space for more. Like other Unitarian Universalist congregations, we are bound together not by a specific list of statements you have to believe in order to belong here, but by the values we share and the mission we share to grow our spirits and to help heal the world and to do it in community, not just trying to white-knuckle life on our own. We especially welcome visitors. If you are church shopping and checking out churches in this congregation for the first time online, it's great to have you here. If it's on Sunday morning, March 29th, stick around. We're having coffee hour by Zoom video conference afterwards. The link is in the comments here. We'd love to chat with you, or feel free to reach out afterwards. Good to be connected. This is our third week of church online. It's the first Sunday after our first full week of the stay-at-home order. And even though we aren't gathering in person, church goes on. You received an email this week from Mary in the office, encouraging you to reach out to her if you're part of a committee or a small group in the congregation and you want to meet. Reach out to her, because the church now has a Zoom video conference room, and you can book it through her. If you're not part of a small group, but you're interested in starting something up, you're interested in gathering regularly or getting together, reach out to me. I would love to talk about how to make that happen. Now, especially as we're physically separated, this social connection is more important than it's ever been. It's more difficult than it's ever been, too. And I'd love to help support you in making that happen, if you're interested in making it happen. If you're in need of connection, if you're feeling anxious or overwhelmed, if you're struggling with what all this means for your own health and your mental health, or for the people that you love, you're not alone. There are a whole lot of us feeling that way, wrestling with those same questions right now. Reach out to each other, reach out to me. You don't have to do this by yourself. We're here for each other. I invite you now to enter into the spirit of our service together, to settle and slow down to this time set apart from the ordinary time of our days. I invite you to bring all of yourself to this moment, to remember, each in our individual homes, the reality, the unshakable reality of our connectedness, each to the other. For our chalice lighting, I share these words from my colleague, the Reverend Teresa Soto, who writes, in this community, we hold hope close. We hold hope close. We don't always know what comes next, but that cannot dissuade us. We don't always know just what to do, but that will not mean that we are lost in the wilderness. We rely on the certainty beneath the foundation of our values and our ethics. We are the people who return to love like a North Star and to the truth that we are greater together than we are alone. Our hope does not live in some glimmer of an indistinct future. Rather, we know the way to the world of which we dream. And by covenant and the movement forward of one right action and the next, we know that one day we will arrive at home. We don't always know what comes next. Especially right now, we don't even know what comes next from moment to moment and one day to the next. But that cannot dissuade us. We don't always know just what to do, but not knowing what to do doesn't mean that we're lost. We have a foundation. We have a compass that shows us the way home, back to ourselves, and the way to go together. Will you join me in the words of our covenant, which is the promise that we make to each other, the affirmation we make about what it is we're gathered here to do, what we're loyal to as a community. And I'll light our chalice. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. I invite you in the chat to warmly greet those gathered this morning. Say hello, and especially if you're joining us from outside of Chicago, if you're joining us for the first time or the first time in a long time, say hi to folks. We'd love to say hi to you. Take a moment. All right, this is Pilot. Oh, come here, buddy. Pilot the puppy. He's going to help out with the story today. He's going to be my in-person audience. Our story is Waiting is Not Easy by Mo Willems. Gerald, says the pig. I have a surprise for you. Yay! What is it? I know, Pilot, what's the surprise? The surprise is a surprise. The surprise is a surprise. Oh. No. Is it big? Yes. Is it pretty? Yes. Can we share it? Yes. All right, so far so good. I cannot wait, says Gerald. You will have to. Wait? What? Why? The surprise is not here yet. So I will have to wait for it? Yeah. Oh! Says Gerald. Pilot, I'm okay, Pilot. Oh, well, if I have to wait for it, I'll wait. I'm waiting. Waiting is not easy. Right? Waiting is not easy. You're waiting for me to read the story? Piggy, I want to see your surprise now. I'm sorry, Gerald, but we must wait. No! Oof. I am done waiting. I do not think your surprise is worth all this waiting. I will not wait anymore. Piggy waits very patiently. Okay. I will wait some more. It will be worth it, says Piggy. It will be worth it. No! Oh, says Gerald. Piggy, we have waited too long. It is getting dark. It is getting darker. Soon we will not be able to see each other. Soon we will not be able to see anything. We will have wasted the whole day. We have waited and waited and waited and waited. says elephant. Oh, it's okay. And for what? For that, says Peggy. For that. The whole night sky. All the stars and everything. Everything. Gerald says, yeah, that was worth the wait. I know, says Pig. I know. Tomorrow morning, says Gerald. Tomorrow morning, I want to show you the sunrise. I can't wait, says Piggy. This great big, wonderful, cuddly, stinky dog sometimes lets out a sigh, just this great big, like large adult person sigh, like, oh, comes from this dog. That sound comes from him, and it sounds like he is elephant. It sounds like he just cannot wait another minute longer. And in fact, he's actually a big lazy sweetheart. You've been in your houses now for a while. You've been waiting in your houses. You've heard that school or preschool or daycare, whatever that is closed down right now, and you're home. You're staying at home, and sometimes it feels like you are waiting and waiting and waiting. Sometimes maybe it feels like the days are really long. Sometimes, even if it doesn't feel like that to you, maybe it feels like that sometimes to your adults, and your adults get a little bit grumpy as the day goes on, as they wait for when they can finally get out and do things and go back to normal again, and have you go back to school or class or care. Waiting is not easy. It's not easy. It's just plain not easy. There's no way around it. There's plenty to do and things to pass the time. But waiting's not easy, and that's okay. And if you feel frustrated, and if your adults are grumpy about it, those things will pass too. And the wait will be worth it. We're waiting and we're staying in our homes right now. We're not going out and about. We're not going to school and class in order to slow down the spread of this disease of coronavirus so that too many people don't get sick at once. And that is worth waiting for. Hang in there with all the rest of us, with this guy too. I invite you now into a time of prayer and meditation. Breathe deep the breath of life and be here now. We'll begin with candles of community and then words and silence and song. This community sees joys and sorrows in ourselves and each other, and rather than keep all of that stuff to ourselves, rather than hold it in and try to carry the weight of everything on our own, we share it with each other. We share it with each other. And where we're not strong enough on our own, we are strong enough as a community. We hold each other, unique and united. The chat below this video is public, so if you'd like to share a joy or a sorrow or a concern in the chat, please do, but know that it will be public. Or just write I, as if you were raising 2 fingers for a candle to be lit in silence, if you want to share that. I light our candles here this morning. A candle first to name our anxiety, to name the reality of our fears and our worries, to name the uncertainty that lives in our own lives and the lives of everyone around us, the people we love and worry over. I light a candle this morning for our hope and for our resolve. A candle that says this is not the end, this is not the whole story, this is not finished. The road may be difficult ahead, we don't know what it is. We don't know where it will go, but we know that we're in it together, and we know that we're committed to our values. We know that we're committed to each other. I light a candle this morning for our joys, because even in the middle of all of this difficulty, joy is present too, joy and sorrow woven fine. The difficult things don't define all of who we are, and there is so much to celebrate, to appreciate, and to be grateful for, even among all of it. I light a candle this morning for everyone in the thick of things, a candle for everyone working in hospitals, doctors and nurses, and the people cooking the food and the people cleaning the beds, the people doing patient intake and record keeping and x-rays, everyone that it takes to keep it afloat, the ambulance drivers, the paramedics, the first responders. A candle too for those in the thick of it at home, for those who have lost work or face a financial future that's uncertain, all of us whose lives are changing in ways we don't even know, all of us in the thick of it, and those caring for others. And I light a last candle this morning for all those joys and sorrows left unspoken, all those hopes and cares and worries that we carry with us through our days in the silence of our hearts. Our words for meditation are called How to Survive the Apocalypse by Reverend Sean Dennison. First, learn to listen. Not only for enemies around corners in hidden places, but for the faint footsteps of hope and the whisper of resilience. Hone your skills, aim your heart toward kindness, and stockpile second chances. Under the weight of destruction, you need a strong shelter of forgiveness. And the deeper wells that give the sweet water of welcome, we have a place for you. Be a people who say it. We have a place for you. When the world ends, we must not add destruction to destruction, not accept a beggar's bargain to fight death with more death. In order to survive the apocalypse, any apocalypse at all, we have to give up the counterfeit currency of self-sufficiency. We have to give up the mistaken addiction to competition. We have to give up the lie that the last to die has somehow survived. Friends, will you join me in a spirit of prayer? Spirit of life and of love, God, known by many names, that central experience of being alive, that core that stands at the center of what it is to be human. We remember this morning. We remember the interconnected web that we're part of. We remember the web of humanity, of care and compassion, the web of sorrow. We remember that our brokenheartedness, our uncertainty, our fear is exactly what makes us human, and our work is not to minimize or avoid or deny it, but to remember it. To remember that our broken heart is the thread that connects us, each to the other. Our hope and our prayer this morning is for the courage to remember it, and the courage to live into it. Will you join me in singing? I know this rose will open. I know my fears will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. Amen. We are this church. We are its hands, its heart, its voice. Together we share the wealth of this community and we sustain it with our gifts. Friends, at this moment of financial uncertainty in your own lives, we continue to be this church. The operation of this congregation, paying the bills, keeping the lights on, all of that happens because of your gifts and your support. And really what that means, really where that comes from, the majority of it, the vast majority, is not the money that we toss in the collection plate on a Sunday morning, but the pledges that you make and fulfill over time. Those commitments let the board and the finance committee figure out how to budget all this totally mundane stuff, which is also part of what it is to be church, not something separate or bad. It's part of the reality of working. Those pledge gifts that are then fulfilled over the course of the year are the largest portion, the most important portion of our budget. As we're not here in person, I want to encourage you, as you're able, two things. One is your financial reality may have changed drastically over the last couple of weeks, or it may be changing drastically over the months to come. The number one thing that we always say in giving here is don't give until it hurts. Give until you feel good about your gift. And part of what that means is that when your financial circumstances change, there is no guilt or shame or blame. You're not going to get any side eye from any member of the congregation because you just lost your job and said, I cannot fulfill this pledge that I made. Give a call to a member of the finance committee, give a call or an email to me, and let's talk about it so that we know and we can start planning and taking into account if you're not able to make those pledge gifts. But this is just part of the reality of what's going on right now. It's something we face forthrightly. It's not, money is so loaded with guilt and shame. Let's just not do that. Let's just talk about it. For those of you who are still able to make those gifts, we invite your generosity. If you don't have automatic giving set up, instead of asking you to put money in the basket this morning, I'm going to ask you to make a calendar appointment to get in touch with Mary in the office and get that set up. Or I'm going to invite you to set it up on your phone right now. Write yourself an email to get that working, so that we can keep on going steadily. We are this church. We're its hands and its heart and its voice, and we share the wealth of this community. We sustain this community with our gifts. 20 years before her birth, in 14th century England, the Great Famine killed a fifth of all people across Northern Europe. By the time she was 10 years old, the Black Plague had killed nearly half the population of Europe. Globally, it would take 300 years before the world's population recovered to pre-plague levels. This is not the moment we're in right now. By the time Julian was an adult, the 100 Years' War between Britain and France had lasted half a century. This war would last 5 continuous generations. And as much as the world itself was hellish in this moment, in the 14th century, this was also an era where hell was theologically still a real place. It still is for some folks, where hell was not a metaphor, it was a destination. And Julian wrestled with the reality that we experience too, the reality that good people screw up all the time, that every one of us falls short of perfection, that none of us has lived at every moment the way that we would wish to. And she tried to sort all of this out. She tried to sort it out from what she knew of her tradition and teaching. She tried to make sense of what did her tradition then teach about hell? What did this mean? And at the age of 30, she was dying. And a priest came to administer her last rites. And as he lifted the cross above her from the foot of the bed, she had a series of visions which she recorded and then took 2 decades to make sense of, to analyze, and to write a longer work explaining. In her 13th vision, at the edge of her own death, Julian of Norwich saw Jesus, who told her in this vision, it was necessary that there should be sin, but all shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. And what this means, because it may be off-putting to hear it at first, this is not the theological context we live in, this is not the world we live in, this is not the language we use. What it means is that none of us is perfect. The notion of sin, of missing the mark, of natural evil in the world that just comes into our lives, these things are necessary, not in the sense that there's some vindictive, vengeful, master universal plan, necessary not because some demon sits on our shoulders. They're necessary like gravity is necessary, or inertia or mass. Part of the reality of what it means to be alive is that we fall short. Part of the reality of what it means to come through life is that things enter our lives which are tragic and terrible and calamities. And it's that reality to which she says, all shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. Which is not all shall be fun, which is not all shall be great, which is not all shall be easy, or even anything will be easy. All will be well. All will be well. Julian wrote, from the time that vision was shown, I desired often to know what our Lord's meaning was. So I love this. She has this vision, all shall be well, and she spends 15 years trying to figure out the hell does this thing mean? I desired often to know what our Lord's meaning was. And 15 years or more afterward, I was answered in my spiritual understanding, which incidentally is a clue right there about how long it takes some lessons to get through to us. I was answered in my spiritual understanding thus. Would you know your Lord's meaning in this thing? Know it well. Love was his meaning. Love was his meaning. Who showed this vision to you? Love. What did this vision show you? Love. Why did he show this vision? For love. Keep yourself therein. This is the answer that came to Julian. This is the way she's making sense of that vision. Keep yourself therein, meaning in that place and space and heart and head of love, and you shall know and understand more in the same. But you shall never know nor understand any other thing forever. God is love, she's saying, literally. Now, Reverend Dr. King says, religious experience is the awareness of the presence of the divine. Religious experience is not an intellectual formation about God, it's an acquaintance with God. Put those together. Religious experience is the awareness of the presence of love and a lasting acquaintance with love. And we're saved not once and for all, not like mechanically by the balancing of some scales, but over and over and over again. Each time we choose love, each time love chooses us, even though we have no stomach for it, we are well because we can choose to be love's people. We choose it again and again. We choose love in the most difficult moments. We choose love when we don't know what's coming. We choose love when we don't know what's going to happen for ourselves and the people who we care for. We choose love, and it's in that choosing that the wellness comes. There is suffering with no purpose and no plan. There is no salvation that comes from death on a ventilator. Bad things happen with frightening regularity to good people. We know it. You know this in your lives. You've experienced it and seen it. But that's not what Julian of Norwich is talking about when she says all will be well. She says, if there is anywhere on earth a person always kept safe, I know nothing of it. She says, this is the reality. For this was not shown to me, but this was shown, that in falling and rising again, we are kept in the same precious love. That by choosing it again and again, choosing compassion, saying this is not something that just happens to us, but a way of being that we put ourselves into, that we make real in ourselves by reaching out. That gives us the bedrock grounding of wellness, the solid foundation for a life that will weather uncertainty. Gives us a place to stand and make a life. Jan Richardson, the poet, writes this called a blessing for when the world is ending. And I'm using this world-ending language. The world is not ending, but the life that we knew, the world as it was 2 months ago, that world is ending. Look, she writes, look, the world is always ending somewhere. Somewhere the sun has come crashing down. Somewhere it's gone completely dark. Somewhere it's ended with the gun, the knife, the fist. Somewhere the world has ended with the slammed door, the shattered hope. Somewhere it has ended with the utter quiet that follows the news from the phone, from the television, the hospital room. Somewhere it has ended with a tenderness that will break your heart. But listen, this blessing means to be anything but morose. It has not come to cause despair. It's simply here because there is nothing better suited for an ending, nothing that cries out more for a blessing than when the world is falling apart. This blessing will not fix you, will not mend you, will not give you false comfort. It will not talk about one door closing, another opening. This blessing will simply sit itself beside you. Sit itself beside you among the shards and gently turn your face toward the direction from which the light will come, gathering itself about you as the world begins again. This is what it is to be love's people, a hard and a difficult blessing, one easily forgotten and difficult to live all the way into, one that assures us all will be well in the falling and the rising and the going on. Will you sing with me? We've sung this together a couple of times before. I'll sing it and then let's sing together. Sure as the wind is blowing, sure as the rain, sure as the sun will rise, we will raise our song again. Let's sing it through a couple of times. Sure as the wind is blowing, sure as the rain, sure as the sun will rise, we will raise our song again. Sure as the wind is blowing, sure as the rain, Sure as the sun will rise, we will raise our song again. Amen. Extinguish our chalice this week. Our service is ended and our work begins again.